Okay. So the whole month is about happiness and living your dream. And today's message is about when you're happy and you know it. So of course, what? You all know the song, when you're happy and you know it. Clap your hands, stamp your feet, wiggle, turn around depending on which version of the song you've listened to. But honestly, when you're happy, there's an accompanying physiological change in your being. When you're happy, your body expresses happiness. And when I led you in that little visualization, you saw a time when you were filled with joy. And my greatest hope is that it was, and I use that word intentionally, that it was recent and not something that was 50 years ago. But it was recent that you felt this joy. Recent that you bubbled, that something within you bubbled up, this happiness bubbled up. And you saw yourself expressing this happiness that is your birthright. Ernest Holmes says, the Dalai Lama says, every single spiritual being that has ever taught principles says the same thing. You have a right to be happy, and you can live a life that is happy. Ernest Holmes says, and he says this so many places, there are dozens and dozens of references to happiness. And he says this, no one can give you one iota more happiness than you already have. And no one can take away one iota of happiness. That is such good news. In other words, happiness is an inside job. It has nothing to do with what's happening on the outer. It isn't about what's happening to you, but rather what moves through you. And it is a choice at every moment. It's a choice at every moment. Sometimes your happiness will look like dancing and singing and smiling, and sometimes it will look much calmer than that, joyful repose. It's one of the definitions of the divine. It's that sits in smiling repose. That which sits in smiling repose, that thing itself, the nature, this nature of God. You don't need to do anything to be worthy of that joy. It's already who you are. You're already hardwired for it. It's in your DNA. But what I notice is that for so many of us, our joy, our happiness has been conditional. There are conditions. I was thinking about this and thinking about all of the songs that are somehow, you make me so very happy. Or he makes me so very happy. Or she lights up my life. He lights up my life. No, your life is lit up because something inside you is light. Something inside you is joy. Something inside you recognizes that presence in others. And it's clearly up to you how it is that you live your life, where you come from. The Dalai Lama, and if you can imagine, he has his book, Happiness is, I want to say is the Way, but anyway, it's his book on happiness, which I had on my bedside table and was reading in preparation for this talk. And he simply says that it's a book that's written by someone else about the Dalai Lama, and he says, of course, everyone can be happy. They just need to train their mind. They just need to train their mind to choose to be happy, to choose to have that as your experience. Now, some of us have seen the Dalai Lama. Hands up? Yeah. Some of us have seen him, and he is happy all the time. He giggles. It is absolutely delightful. He giggles. His way of being in the world, it's nothing funny that I can see, but he's giggling because joy is bubbling up within him. Joy is his way of being, his passport to everything. It's who he is and what he is. So, it would be a choice. I remember years ago when my younger sister is 12 years younger than I am, so you imagine I was the babysitter, which I really liked sometimes. Before it was time that I wanted to go out too. But anyway, I loved it, and I used to sing to her, "You are my sunshine." Now listen to the lyrics. "My only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray." Now, our loved ones are our opportunity to share love that's already within us. But the real truth is they don't make us happy, and they don't take away our happiness. They're an opportunity for us to express the happiness that's already in us. It's a different way of seeing the world. Dr. Jim Lockhart last week was reminding you of the nature of God, that God isn't, the old idea of someone in the sky that's going to punish or reward whimsically, whether you deserve it or don't. It's not like that. And his point is that the presence operates through an immaculate law, and it's absolutely perfect in every way. It's operating through a law that means that when we conform, when we embody that happiness, when we accept it as being who we are going to walk into a world filled with happiness, love, life, laughter. While we're waiting for someone else to make us happy, we will be pretty miserable. We'll be pretty miserable because no one's coming. No one's coming. You and I can only attract to us what we are already. So until we're happy, until we're loving, until we're filled with joy, the people in our lives, they might be there in the invisible, but they cannot show up. They cannot come into our lives until we are exactly that way. Now, I know you already know this because I see your joy. I saw it out there this morning as you were breaking bread together and enjoying each other and just having a great time being social together, enjoying each other. And that is the nature of life. I just finished, and those of you who read our blog and read Saturday's blog, which is mine, know that I just finished reading The Life of Pi. How many of you saw the movie? Okay, I adored the movie, and my sisters kept saying, you really ought to read the book because it's even better than the movie. So I finally read the book, and it is even better than the movie. It is exquisite, it's mind-boggling, and one of the things it begins with, as the narrator is telling the story, he says, someone says to him, I'm going to tell you a story that will make you believe in God. And the guy was an atheist. When the narrator was an atheist, he said, well, good luck with that. Probably won't happen. And as he told this story, you do start seeing the presence of God everywhere. And then at the very end, the last 2 chapters, you get another version of the story, a way more practical version than the whimsical, wonderful Bengal tiger in the life raft with a young Indian boy that's, an eighth of his size. You get a practical story. But the boy, he's telling this story to the owners of the ship. Some Japanese people owned the ship that sank, and that's why he was in this lifeboat. And he's explaining about the tiger, and tells the whole story of how he made the other life raft and how he caught fish for the tiger and everything. And they questioned the story. There said a few holes in this story. It's not really believable that a young boy could survive by himself with 4 animals at the beginning on this life raft with him. And the boy said, so you want another story? Because everything is a story. Everything is a story. And I thought, aha, we are making meaning of everything in our lives. We are saying it's this way, or it's this way, or it should be this way, or it could be this way. We're making a story up about everything in our lives, including ourselves. And that's exactly what he did. So he told him another story, which was very believable and very practical and had more consequences for the boy. And so the Japanese owners of the ship wrote that he had survived with a Bengal tiger. So in other words, they defaulted to the first story, even though it wasn't the most believable one. But I saw God in that. I saw the presence of love in that decision. In that decision. So think about your life and how happy it is. How often do you giggle? How often do you laugh out loud? How often do you just find pleasure in the normal activities in your life? It's your choice. It's up to you. You can do that beginning right now. You can choose. You can say, this is pretty interesting. This is pretty funny. Or you can say, life is hard, it sucks, it's a pain, it's happening to me again, and it's awful. It's up to you. But happiness truly is living your dream, and our dreams come true when we come true to them. So when the story we're telling in our heads matches what we want to be experiencing on the outside, that's when the outside matches. When the story we're telling in our heads, when with the story we're telling about ourselves and life and the people in our lives. This last week I was in Colorado and I was doing some very high holy work, some very spiritual work. We got together, just 6 people and a woman named Reverend Dr. Marcia Sutton, who created the co-creation process. And we were deeply in this co-creation process. And we were encouraged to look at our lives and tell the truth about what was working and what wasn't working. And what we wanted instead. And all of us did that. I was very proud of us. We were very honest. We were very spiritually mature. And then we shared those things with each other. And some people got their feelings hurt. This is a group of very spiritually mature people, not just old. I don't mean that we're all old, although that could be said too, but spiritually mature. We've been in this teaching for a long time. We know that life isn't something that happens to us, it happens through us, by means of us. It happens because we say it is so, and yet, at that human level, we want to be loved, we want to be cherished, we want people to appreciate us just the way we are and doing just the things that we're doing, and yet the nature of life is that people show up in our lives so that we can see who we really are. So we can see who we really are. So ask yourself this question: if there's someone in your life that's annoying to you, that is causing you annoyance, is irritating you just a little bit, because we know you're way too spiritually mature for anything more than that, ask yourself, what in me is exactly like that? How am I irritating to people? How am I doing the very thing that I am judging? And because that's one of the whole keys, judge not lest ye be judged. How am I that thing? And it may or may not come to you. Because here's the thing is, we're taught to be nice people. And we're taught that somehow other people's good, other people's joy, other people's happiness depends on us doing certain things for them. And actually it's a lie. Their happiness comes the same way as ours does, when they're true to themselves and when we're true to ourselves. When we tell the truth and tell it with love. So I've got, of course, a new releasing prayer, and because that's part of what Dr. Marsha's work is. And my word of error this time was death. And everyone thought, oh, she's afraid of someone dying. No, it's not. In fact, I got a letter, a sympathy letter from someone saying, so sorry about your mother. And Mom, I know you're listening to this. I know you're fully alive and are for a long time. So, but anyway, it's so interesting. The idea, the word was death, but it was not the death of a person. It was the death of a way of life. And I had great fear about that. And yet, we're always changing. Life is about change. The most natural thing in the world is to let something die so something else can live. Think about the seasons. I know we don't see it so clearly here in Southern California, but in order to have the kind of growth that we see and appreciate in the springtime, we had to have the experience of something like letting go. The old has to go away so that there's room for the new. And so my word of, that was my word of error, death, and my word of release, my word of, anyway, what I do when I don't want to look at something is I withdraw up until now. So if you see me withdrawing, ask me, what's going on? Because I've now given you a clue, a big clue. If I am not fully participating in life, and that might mean dancing and singing and dancing and moving, or it might be sitting in smiling repose. But if I'm not participating, if I'm blocked, if there's walls around me, if I've withdrawn, I'm afraid of death of something, and it's a lie. Every spiritual teacher tells us life is eternal, and life of organizations are just as eternal as life of beings. Okay, so when you're happy and you know it, when you're happy and you know it, you let your body show it. You let your body show it. I often quote that wonderful Mary Oliver poem that just says to be true to the soft animal part of yourself and let it be what it is. Let your body show it. So here's what I know. We're learning to live our dreams right here and right now. We're allowing the natural joy that's our birthright to move through us. And we're allowing that birthright to be those qualities of God, including joy. Not just when I'm happy and I know it. I am happy and I know it. I clap my hands. I stamp my feet. I shout hurrah. And so it is.